we do have something planned
Mhm.
today because, we have less to stress out about like finding topics every week. We
Yeah.
did a love language test. So if you've never done a love language test or you don't know your love language or you think you thought you knew, you think
Mhm.
you thought you knew, you
Yeah.
thought you knew what your love language was. Are we in present tense? Are we in past tense? Are we
What-
talking about yeah.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? It feels like it's been forever.
It's been too long.
So long.
What are we doing to our audience? Or hold
I
on,
don't
make sure I've got all
know.
the things right.
We're just like keeping them on their toes. That's what we're doing.
All right, how do I sound? Because I feel like I'm using the right mic, but I
Oh, you
feel like I
sound good.
never. Okay, good. Great. Well, guys, welcome. I got some fun things planned today.
Yep, yep.
Um, but little check-in. How have you been?
Busy. Like over
Busy.
the top, ridiculously busy. Like I don't know what I'm doing to myself busy.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe, ain't it, though,
Yeah. I
I
almost
mean,
added on children this weekend, but then I was like, no, I can't do it. I just need no. Like, no. Like
you
drop them
mean you
off at
mean like
mom's.
you're
Like
right. Well, you're not talking about your children. You're
no, no,
talking
not
about your
my
sister's
children.
kids, right?
The
Yeah,
niece
yeah.
and nephew. Yeah, those
Right, right,
children. The
right. No
only children we
children.
got. We just borrow those children every once in a
No,
while.
I love that. No, it's really sweet. Yeah. Well, that's good. I've been busy too. I had like a work week, like I had a Tuesday wedding
It's a
like two
random
weeks ago, which
day.
was kind of crazy. Yeah, it was like their anniversary, so they wanted to just
Oh,
keep it,
okay.
but
Yeah.
which is fair. Like I get that.
Yeah.
And then I started doing some like marketing managing for a band, and
Oh,
I went to their like practice this weekend, and that was really really fun, and I had like a really good time doing that, and
nice.
so that was fun. And then I got my book goal done for the month. I don't know if you've been following my Instagram,
I've
but
been
I post all of
dipping
the
in and
books that I
out.
read. Oh, I know. I'm sure
How
it's
many
hard for you to
how
keep
many
up.
did you
I've
read?
done 6 books.
Nice. I think my count was, let's see, I'm gonna pull up my Notion. I feel like it was
Like
10.
17.
No, I think it was like, okay, yeah, it was like 10. And like book 10, I mean, it's actually like 9 and 3/4. Like,
Okay.
because one of those I got halfway through and I put it down, which is really
Yeah.
rare for me. But it was
Yeah.
like for those of you that don't know, I now have like a book club Patreon. Whoop, whoop.
Yes.
So I have two Patreons, one for planning and one for books.
Yes.
And so for
Yes.
January, we voted on a book to read together. And
Uh-huh.
it was a tie between two books. One I had already read and absolutely loved, and one that was new.
Right.
Well, it turns out the new one was like a second generation spinoff. And sometimes you can read
Oh,
those without reading the first generation.
because it's
This
not
one,
like that connected.
yeah, no, this one, not so much. I felt like I was opening up like 1,000 page book somewhere about 60% through and didn't
Oh
know what the
no.
fuck was happening. So I'm
So you're
like,
like,
I'm
now I
sure
gotta
other
go back.
people are having this issue. So I like started a chat. And so I think
Love
only
that.
one person finished it. And then other people, like they didn't even start it because they
Yeah.
had picked up on that. So I stopped. I'm like, I feel the potential. So I'm gonna have to read the
Right.
first series and come back.
Right.
And then the
Because you
last
can't just
one,
power through
yeah,
it.
no, I
There's no like,
tried, but I
yeah.
was like, I
Yeah.
want to feel the connection to these characters,
Right.
and I just wasn't getting
Right.
it when I was so confused as
Exactly.
to what was happening. Because it was like all the world building apparently was done in the first series, and so you really
Mm-hmm.
didn't get any of that in this spinoff because it read like a
Because they
continuation.
assumed you already knew. Yeah.
Yes,
They like assume.
you
Yeah.
were just
Yeah.
supposed to know. So, and then the
Yeah.
last book on my list for January, I'm still reading it. So I should finish it
Okay.
today. But
Nice,
yeah.
nice. Yeah,
So,
I got through. Well, I've been kind of backpiling books I've been wanting to read for like probably years. Like I've had like the
yeah.
Dragon Tattoo book on my shelf for like I cannot even tell you how long, and it's like that mixed with the inheritance games is like a kind of a stepping stone to that in a sense, because it's very like same thing, like girl gets murdered, figure out how the girl gets murdered, right, kind of
Okay.
situation.
Okay.
And then I finished the Dune series because that's a three-parter as well, so I read the first book like 2 years ago like 10 times. But then I was like, maybe I should continue the story, but it jumps like way too far in the future. Like it jumps
Wow.
probably like 10 or 15 years in the future. So it kind of
Yeah.
like, I'm like, oh, I would have read that book
Yeah.
too. I like I would have read, the stuff you skipped. But
Yeah.
then I started a new series that my dad suggested, which is like the Dresden Files, which
I think I've
is
heard of
kind
that.
of loose. Yeah, it's really good. Um, no smut, sorry.
Oh,
But it is
so
good. It's
sad.
it's very super, the show Supernatural.
Oh, yes, yes, very
Yeah,
much so.
yeah, obviously.
Yes.
It's like if Dean and Sam were like the same person, and then he works with the cops versus like pretending to like be a cop, if that makes sense. He's kind of like the
Okay.
mentalist mixed with like that, but then he is a wizard, so it's like it's pretty
Oh,
crazy. I really
okay.
like it. The universe is really great. I'm reading the second book right now. I'm actually reading like three books all at the same time because like I'm
I
just
don't understand
insane.
that. I don't understand how people can read more than one. Like Mandy was doing it yesterday because one book she was reading was like 900 and something
Mhm.
pages, and then she
Right.
was reading a novella, and then we've got people in the book club that'll read like three at a time. I'm
Yeah.
like, I like it. My brain doesn't compute with that. Like, so I find it very
Yeah.
impressive that you can do that.
It's
My
it's
brain
just because my
says
brain
no.
has to do it that way because it gets so distracted. So yeah, I'm still on my philosophy of Tolkien with my mom, which
Nice.
is like our book theory right now, as we're doing like ethics and philosophy and like deep diving into like Plato and Socrates and because that's where my brain goes.
Uh, it
And
still cracks
then
me up our drastic differences in books because I recently read one of the kinkiest books that I've read in a very long
yeah,
time. And then you're over here
uh-huh.
like philosophy and I'm like, she worked at a sex shop. Okay.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and then
so
so
different.
that but see, I that my like smuttiness translates into like adult cartoons though. So like I'm like deeply
Interesting.
obsessed with Has Been Hotel, which just came out. And like I just made like three TikToks about it. Like that's how fucking obsessed about it I am. I've watched the series now like 8 times. There's only 8 episodes. There's not enough episodes. So and I love like BoJack Horseman and Big Mouth, like South Park. Like that is like that. I don't know, something about like adult cartoons are just like my Jimmy Jam. I even really liked Super Jail for a long time. So like cartoons having sex, like I'm down for it. But like reading it in a book, I'm just like, okay. I mean, like that's cool, but like, where's like the face stuff? Like, where they start killing each other? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But I mean, I do still really like it. It just isn't as like mentally stimulating than like a murder mystery. Like
Yeah.
I like Dresden Files is very like that, where he kind of like investigates murders that are happening and they happen to be supernatural. Like the first
Yeah.
book was like very vampire-y, which is very Stephen King too, which is like my favorite author. So,
Yeah. I see that it's
um,
also a show. Like the Dresden Files is a show. Is it
mhm,
that's based off
yeah,
the books, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
'Cause I pulled
yeah.
it
I
up
don't
on
know if it's
Amazon.
I
So
haven't watched any of the show yet because I wanted to get like the books under
the
my belt to
books.
get like,
Yeah.
but I am also reading Mr. Mercedes, which was a movie. Obviously, that's a Stephen King novel. I've never read it, so I was like, I need
Recognize
to
that
read it.
name. Yeah.
And then I'm also reading. The fuck else am I reading? What else am I reading? I wrote it down. Um, what else the fuck am I reading? Was it the second Inheritance Games? I think it's like the second and the third. Yeah, the Hawthorne Legacy, which is also very, very interesting. So I'm doing, and Mr. Mercedes. So Mr. Mercedes, which is good. That's like uh, a serial killer book by Stephen
Yeah.
King. And there's sex in that, but it's a bunch of old people having sex, which is kind of lame.
Oh,
But
well,
but
okay.
it's like Hodges is like the detective that's like part of the book. Like the book is him catching the serial killer, right? Like that's the whole
Yeah.
preface of the book. And he falls in love with like the the one of the victim's sisters, and she like, I need your help to find him, and he's like, I'm retired, and it's like, it's very good. I mean, it's like a very good story, but it is like, I don't know. It also reminds me a lot of Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. Like, it's all, I'm reading like a lot of the same types of things where it's like,
Well,
was
how
a
do you not get
detective
those
or personal
confused?
investigator. What?
How do you not get those confused if they're very similar? Like, I could
He's
possibly
right. That
see
would
it if
be
it was
easy to
like
do.
drastically different, like,
Yeah.
like fantasy versus smut
Uh-huh.
versus like murder mystery. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, my
I
brain
think
says no, but
I kind of do it where like they're just all in the same universe simultaneously happening. So it's just like my own
oh,
new reality is that like these are all happening
interesting.
at the exact same time.
Okay.
But it's just
Uh,
like my genre I'm on right now. I don't know
yeah.
what it is. Like, because Girl Dragon Tattoo, private investigator. Um, Hawthorne's Legacy is like a young girl with a rich family that like the rich like grandpa who dies leaves like his like whole like millions of dollars and his whole business to her instead of like his family, and she has to like figure out the mystery of why he chose her, and so there's like that whole, and like it's kind of like a game in a sense,
Yeah.
versus like Mr. Mercedes is like a PI investigating a former detective PI like investigating a serial killer. So it's just like, I don't know, like it's just like the vibe I'm on this year
Yeah.
for some, at least for this month. I don't know where else, because I'm also watching the Jessica Jones show again. I don't know if you're into Marvel and all that, but
I have
Jessica
not seen
Jones,
that. I feel like that's on my watch list, but I haven't watched it yet.
you you would love Jessica Jones, because she's like the epitome of like, I don't give a fuck, like mentality of like, I'm a superhero but I'm not a superhero, and then she falls in love with this like most beautiful black man who has ever existed, who is Luke Cage, which is also another superhero, and they technically in the comics get
Oh,
like married and have
yeah.
kids, and it's like so cute. Their whole story is like really, really good, and they did a really good job of like casting slash like portraying the series. And then if you like what's his name from Doctor Who and like Harry Potter and whatever, he's the villain in that story, who's a
Oh,
really great villain. And I mean, there's tons of sex. It's a good show. For Disney, it's like, because it was a Netflix show originally, right? So
yeah.
they had like a little bit more leeway of doing, because those Defender, like Daredevil, Iron Fist, whatever, those are all like kind of edgier New York
Yeah.
superheroes. They're not like the typical like Captain Rogers, who's like this good guy and he's fighting for America. These guys are like, fuck you. I live in New York. I'm protecting my city. I'm protecting my people. I'll kill whoever I need to. Like, so
Oh
it's
my
just
God.
not very Marvel. But since Marvel, like, has been like, well, we're going to do the Deadpool thing. And he's like rated R, and that did well. And like,
Yeah.
no one canceled us for that. So let's just like buy our stuff from Netflix back. So now it's on Disney Plus and you can watch all the Defender
Oh,
series. So we just
okay.
watched Jessica Jones, and then Daredevil is so good too. I mean, you would love, I think personally, out of all of the superhero nerdy stuff, like the Defender series is like your series, if that makes
Yeah. Okay.
sense.
Hang on. I'm gonna look.
Yeah, it'd be worth it. I mean, not that you have much free time, but
I don't know.
But talking about love, this is gonna come out what, on Valentine's Day? Are we doing on the 14th? Is
Are
that
we
what we're
doing it that
doing?
day? I was gonna ask you, I'm like, what day is this supposed to go out? I don't even know
I
anymore.
don't know. So guys, we've kind of changed the schedule up. Our lives have kind of taken over. We have decided that we'd rather dedicate, instead of pushing out like a half-assed video every week, that we would do like a really good video with like a check-in, a book update,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
something to do for the podcast. And
Yeah.
and then just do an hour episode and say fuck it, because we talk that long anyways. Like we were trying to
We
like
do.
we were
It's
trying to do like, well, what if we did 30-minute episodes and we
it's
like
hard to
filmed a
hold it
bunch of
back.
them, and then we're just like, you know what? Like, if you like us, you're gonna sit
This
and
is
listen for an
us.
hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just how we do it. And you're starting a new podcast, and I'm almost positive this
Oh,
band member that I'm working with, like this band that I'm working with, wants me to be on, well, produce their podcast slash be like on their
nice.
podcast. So, like, we're just gonna be busy people, and that's okay. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with being busy, and like we've always said, this is always supposed to be like our fun thing that we do to like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
be friends and like just do the things that we like and talk about the things that we like.
Yeah.
Um, but we do have something planned
Mhm.
today, because we have less to stress out about like finding topics every week. We
Yeah.
did a love language test. So if you've never done a love language test, or you don't know your love language, or you think you thought you knew, you think you
Mhm.
thought you thought you knew, you
Yeah.
thought you what your love language was. Are we in present tense? Are we in past tense? Are we talking about?
We're in a different
Well, because
universe.
I thought I knew too. Because I don't know how you felt about your results, but I thought I was like, oh, I'm XYZ. But I was very interested to see when they asked you if you were a teenager versus an adult at the beginning of the quiz.
Yeah, because I feel like I've done this test before because I
Yeah.
can't remember if it was. I think it was a class, maybe like an extracurricular thing at in college, but I can't remember
Okay.
what class it was. But like
Or like
we
an
did,
elective or something, like an
yeah, like
elective or
we
something.
did like we read the book, the five love
Okay.
languages, and then we took
Right.
the quiz and like so we could know. And
And like do
and I
some
feel like
perspective on that.
I can't remember what mine was then, but I
Okay.
want to say mine then was words of affirmation. I think is
Okay.
what it was then. So I was like curious to see if it was going to be the same thing. It's not. And
Well, I love that this test gives you like a percentage thing, like our
oh, the
other test. It
percentage
wasn't
was
just like, this is who
great.
you are.
Yeah.
Dude, the percentages, I'm fucked. It is so hard to love me.
Oh my gosh. Well, I
I'm
made
so
my husband
lucky.
do this last
I'm
night.
so lucky. Well, tell me, because you made your hubby do it too, right?
I did. I sat in bed. I was like, babe, you don't even have to do it by yourself. I'll just read it to you and you can tell me
Oh,
the
that's so
answers.
sweet.
And so we
Yeah.
just like sat in bed together last night, muted the TV, like put down our
Hmm.
phones. Well, I mean, I had my phone
Yeah.
because I took the test, but like
Test on your phone. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I just like read it out and then he told me
Yeah.
and like occasionally I would like ask him, well, you said this a certain way, so what do you mean by that?
Right.
What are you thinking? And so like
Yeah.
brought
Do
up,
you think it was like a healing
some
thing? Do you think it was like a good like bonding thing to do
I think it
together?
was a good bonding thing. I don't know that he so
Okay.
much cared as I don't think he cared as much as I did, but
You're
he
like,
was
I'm using
willing
this
to
as a
do it. So,
right,
and then
right,
I
right,
was
right, right, right,
curious how
right.
ours were gonna like, if it was
Line
gonna
up.
be the same. And
Right.
ours are drastically different, like
But that's good
drastically
sometimes. Yin
different.
and yangs are good, you know,
Yeah, I feel like we
as
work.
long as you know.
Yeah, I
As
feel
long
like
as you
we
know
work.
what the other person
But
wants. Okay,
I feel
good.
like it
Well,
was
tell me.
I feel like it was really enlightening to hear some of his responses because, like, for those of
Okay.
you who haven't taken the test, the way it works, at least, the one we did
The
online,
one that we took. Yeah, the
it
one that we took. Yeah.
it gives you like which is more meaningful to you, and it gives you two options,
Hmm.
and then you
Right.
answer it, and then there's like 30 of them, I think, 30 little,
Yeah.
compare
Yeah.
this to this type of
Definitely.
things, and
Definitely.
so it was. I don't know. I felt like it was really interesting to hear his stuff, and then I did mine, and at the beginning, I was like second guessing myself. I'm like, well, now I know what the questions are. So am I responding in a way that would be differently if I didn't
Yeah.
know the questions,
Well, because it kind of asks you the same question, but just like in a different phraseology, in a
Yeah, it phrases it
sense.
differently, but also there was like different combinations. So it'd be like
Yeah, because I was like,
worded
oh,
very
what I choose that for
similar, but it
this?
would
Yeah.
combine it with
Yeah.
something else. So it's like, well,
Right.
when you combine these two things, I'll go with this. But if you combine that
Right.
with this, I'm gonna go with
Right.
this, you know?
Right. Right. Well, I
So
think that's why there was like 30 something questions, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember thinking about like one thing that didn't surprise me about mine is I remember the first time I took it, I
Mhm.
remember thinking, why are there so many questions about gifts over and over? I'm like, why do they keep asking that? Because so many of the other questions felt different. But I kept thinking, why is there so many questions about gifts? Turns out my receiving gifts is 3%. Three. That's it. 3%. What's yours?
Boring. Zero.
What? Really?
It
Wow.
is 0%.
Wow. Yeah. No, my
Zero.
husband's
Do not buy me a fucking thing. Do not spend money
no, my
on
husband's
a gift.
27% for my husband. And that shocked the shit out of me. I
Wow.
mean, that
That
shocked
is
me.
crazy.
So
That
I
is
feel like it was
really
really
crazy.
enlightening. So,
That is
okay,
good. Shit, maybe
you,
you need to start buying presents more.
I know. It's like, I mean, in, I guess,
Okay, so that's
I
your
guess that
lowest
makes sense.
percentage.
That was my lowest percentage. Maybe, okay,
Okay.
so let's compare. All right, my husband's highest percentage, which is
Yeah.
like his primary love language, physical touch. at 30%.
I've heard
Okay.
that most men, that is their highest.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
mine at 29%, so just 1% lower, is acts of service.
Yeah.
And it really made
Yeah.
sense when I started like going through because
Yep. Because
it
a
just
woman needs you just to participate in the relationship.
Okay, so what was yours in reds?
Okay.
What was
So
your
acts of
top
service
one?
was mine at 33.
33.
33. Reds is quality time.
My number two is quality time.
See,
So
my number two is physical touch.
mine was at 26% for my second one.
Yeah.
Yours is
Yeah.
physical
See,
touch?
my second one is physical touch too. So it's like quality time, acts of service, and physical touch are our top three because we share physical touch. So we're always snuggling. We're
Yeah.
always either within arm distance of each other. That's why we're so codependent, is that we both want to be near each other, doing something together. And it happens to also be a chore, like cooking together. We're like, or like, hey, let's clean the house today. Oh my God, are you joking? Let's do that.
Well, I feel like I'm not really surprised by his being physical touch because
Yeah.
like if I'm like and my second one's quality time. So like there'll be times when like he'll be on the game and I'll be like reading my
Oh,
book. We're laying in bed together while we're doing this.
yeah.
He's at like one end of the bed and I'm at the other, but our legs have to be like interlocked the entire time. And it's like, well, that makes sense. This is my quality time, his physical touch. It like makes sense.
They do coincide really well
Yeah.
because as long as you guys are touching and doing quality time, because like he wants quality time, like Red's quality time is like, let's do something to that together
Yeah.
that like is making me happy. Like him, like he wants to do something that's making him happy. And I'm just also there with him. Like
Yeah.
when we play video games with each other or watch football together or doing something that he's like, wow, I love that my wife also loves this thing I love, you know?
Yeah.
And mine is like acts of service where you go, babe, you work so hard.
Yep.
Let me do something for you.
Yeah.
That's
I
all I
mean,
need in my life.
I feel like he must have known like deep down that mine was
Yeah.
acts of service because like, okay, so yesterday I had a nail appointment and then I had
Yeah. Like you do.
like a live stream like the same day. And
Right.
that's why I
On
said no
Friday.
to the kids come over. So I was like the day before, no, like not 2 days before, he said,
Yeah.
babe, remind me tomorrow when I get home from work to go fill up your car with gas and air up your tires so that you're good when you go to the nail salon. I'm like, how fucking sweet is that?
That's so sweet.
It's
I
so
wish my husband would
sweet.
never even think of
Like,
that.
there's times when like we'll be like laying in the bed and like he's like, babe, can you go get me a glass of water? I'm like, no, I'm not moving. And he's like, I would do it for you. And I said, I know, but you're a much better person. And there's acts
See,
of
that's
service.
the same thing with me where Red wants, you know what's funny is because Red wants the acts of service, but it's not his love language. He wants it.
Uh-huh.
Like he wants me to be his wife. Like he wants me as his wife. Like that is very clear. Because what I love or what I show as love is acts of service. Like I also use acts of service as my love language for receiving and for like
Get it?
doing. Like how I
Yeah.
show
Yeah.
people love is by doing things for people. Like that is what I do. Like that's what my whole
Yeah.
business scheme, like that's scheme. I almost said business scheme.
Scheme.
Girl, what
That's
the
my
fuck?
scheme. Oh.
It's not necessarily like, I mean, I don't know. Being a wedding planner is pretty much like a whole like pay me to do something that like you just don't want to do yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but yeah, like my whole business mantra is that like I become your personal assistant so that you don't have to stress out as much.
Yeah.
Because I love to do things for other people and then they're happy. That comes from like my people pleasy part of my brain that my therapist is like, you'll eventually get over that. I'm like, really? Are you sure? You sure? Because I'm trying to come into my villain era and it's like not really working. Where I'm not supposed to care so much about what people like, if people are okay or not, or checking in, like my check-ins, like, and
Yeah.
that's what like becomes sometimes like the negative part of Red and I's relationship is that like I'll be like, hey, is everything okay? And he'll be like, no, it's not, and I will instantly think it's my fault
Yeah.
because my
Oh
love
yeah.
language is tied to why are my acts of service not enough for you to just be instantly happy? But I have to remember that that's just like not how it works.
Yeah.
But if it was physical touch, it would be easy. If his top one was physical touch, we'd be fine. But
Yeah.
because his is quality time, and I have no fucking time. Every minute of my day is planned out. I have to put in my phone to relax.
Yeah,
How sad is
yeah.
that? How
No, I
sad is
totally get
that?
it. I totally get it. Like I feel like that's where I'm at these days. I feel like maybe I'd be in a better place if I put it on my schedule to like to actually
Well,
relax. Like,
that's how I've had to like. Well, I'll shame myself for doing it. Like
yeah,
if I don't do anything that day and I didn't do something to make me money or do something to like be productive, I like shame myself for
yeah.
like not being productive. And it's like, bitch, you have to also relax. Like you have to reset. You cannot be just running on empty. So
That's where I feel like I'm at these
what I've
days.
determined is that like I need to allow my relaxation to be also quality time
Yeah.
so that I'm refilling my tank and I'm fulfilling his love language.
Yeah, I
And
feel
then
like
acts of
that's
service will just kind of like because I don't really want him to do things for me. I will just do them. But like, it's just one of those things where like it's very interesting. It's very, very
yeah.
interesting.
Well, I mean, his being physical touch, I totally get that. That did not surprise me at all. Because like while we were reading, like doing the quizzes, like mine's quality time. That's my second one. I totally get that. Because last night I was like, okay, like mute the TV, like get off the game, like
Right.
come sit up here
Right.
beside me, like we're
Hmm.
up here, we're in
Hmm.
this. And then immediately his leg goes over into my lap and I'm like rubbing his leg as I'm reading the questions. And it's like, okay, this
Yeah.
all makes sense now. Like
Like
that's just what we
he wants the
do. Like,
physical. And that's so funny because it's like I feel like some of these love languages, and not that I'm a sociology major whatsoever, but I definitely was interested in it while I was in college. It's like I wonder if it's like rooted more in your personality or if it's like a learned behavior. Because were your parents
hmm.
touchy people or were they quality time people? Like were your parents people that like loved and hugged and kissed you, or were they like, hey, let's do something as a family? Kind of,
I
you know what I
mean,
mean?
it's a little bit of both on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause I mean, there were,
Interesting.
like, we would have like family nights where we would do things and we would, not
Right.
afraid to like hug and say, I love you, And whereas I feel like his side of the family, like, I, I can't even think of a time that I've like been over there and heard one of them say I love you. Because it's just like
Mm-hmm.
they know they love each other, but they don't
Mm-hmm.
have to
Mm-hmm.
like say it,
Yeah, that's
and
kind of like my family's.
you know,
We're not very verbally, we're actually more verbally abusive than anything in like a jokey, fun, like sarcastic-y kind of way. Like we're that kind of family that all kind of like jokes about stuff and like always talks kind of like silly in a sense.
yeah,
Um, versus yeah, the like I love yous and stuff, that's not even I mean, me and Red are very much that way. Like we are very like we both do words of affirmation, but it's the lowest on our scale
yeah,
besides presents.
yeah. What
You
was
know,
ours?
that was my second to last one was words of
Okay,
affirmation. I thought
so
I would be words of affirmation because I
mine's
love
number
it when
three.
we're both Leos, you know?
Yeah, mine's number three at 23%, and
Okay.
his is bottom at 10.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
his
ours both
was
match up. Words of affirmation. Our bottom two were exactly the same. No presents
really,
for either of us because we would rather spend money on quality time. Like we would rather
yeah.
go do something together, like go out to dinner or go
Go
out
on a
to
cruise.
like
I
go
saw
on a
your
cruise, go on
TikToks.
a vacation. Yes. I know. I started a whole new TikTok. I never had a personal TikTok because I thought it was stupid, but now I'm like obsessed. So there's my life. There's my life. Because we travel so
Mm,
much, and
yeah.
like there's so many people that are like, wow. And I'm like, don't have kids.
It's a big difference, yeah. Like we have the
Huge
furry
difference.
kids. That's the kids we have right
The
now.
dogs are hard. How do you travel with dogs?
Yeah,
You
that's one
don't,
reason why he
right?
wanted to talk about getting a camper is so that we could, you know.
That is the idea. That is the ideal. Did you guys do anything with that or no?
No, we still
It's
haven't. We've like,
a whole thing.
yeah, we didn't go and like look at the show thing, but we have like shopped around and looked like online at different ones and talked about, this style versus this style, this size versus this
Mm-hmm.
size.
Hmm.
But that's as
Right.
far as we've taken it. And it's like, I want one
Yeah.
now. Like he brought it up, but now it's like I want it. Like, So, and then I found one and I was like, okay,
You want
before
it for the quality time.
I
You
know
want to
the
be
quality
with him
time.
on vacation,
Yeah. That'll be his
driving
gift.
together.
Like that'll be his gift of the camper and like my quality time of being stuck in the camper
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so, but
Yeah.
like
And
I
there's physical
found
touch
one.
because y'all are like in the same space. I mean, it's not a
Yeah.
very big,
I
I
found
mean,
one
you're
and I
two
was like,
grown
okay,
adults. It's not like,
before I get my heart set on like a certain one, I'm like, oh, it's the one I want. Let's do it right now. You know, I was like, we should probably like have a discussion about like budget and like
yeah,
size
be
because
smart
there's
about it. Be smart
yeah, because
about
I
it.
mean, like
Yeah.
if you get, you know, and used versus new, like we haven't even talked about that. And like he
I
was,
would get one used. I mean, what are you going to buy a brand new one for?
I don't
I
see,
don't know.
I wanted a brand new one because I know somebody's funk it living in there. And
Well,
he's
no,
like, I want a used one because they're cheaper.
think about the COVID people who bought one, probably used it like 3 times, and then like were like, I actually hate this, and then they sold it. You
Um,
know what I mean? Or they're
oh,
trying to
that's a
sell
good
it.
point. I didn't even think about it
Think of
from
it
that
like that. Think of
perspective.
that because there was that big boom for a while there where everyone was like, I'm gonna
Mm.
live in a camper and like sell my house. And it's like, no, motherfucker, that's not for everybody. Like,
Yeah,
literally, camping is like terrible for some people, and living in a
yeah.
tiny little shower is not like full life. Like, that's fun for a weekend
Oh my
for some
gosh,
people, but that's not like,
I saw this one on Instagram or TikTok or something the
yeah,
other day.
yeah,
It was like it was a fifth wheel that, you know, like
yeah,
it was huge. It looked like a
yeah. Some of them are
fucking
big.
house.
Some of them are
Like
really big. Yeah,
it feels like it was
yeah. Some have two
larger than the
stories now.
tiny house that we like
Mhm.
stayed in on the lake. It was huge. And I'm like watching this
Yeah,
video and it just kept going and going.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Sometimes it's also
how big
like
is
a really
this?
good way. Like you can film it in a way that makes it feel really big too,
Yeah,
and
no, it
it like
was
has like a
huge.
fisheye lens and like whatnot. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we thought about doing it when we before we bought this house. We had thought about doing a tiny house because we were like, as long as we've got our video game room and as long as we've got our TV in our bedroom, like we'll be good. And we are like, we could buy a house outright with the money we're putting down on this house. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
we kind of were like thinking about it, but he's quite a large man. Um,
he is a large man. How tall is he?
he's a
He's
large
super
man.
tall.
6'7".
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah, he's a foot taller than me, and
huge.
I'm like 4 inches taller than you.
That's insane. We had a client that he was, I want to say he was 6'7", 6'8", and like we had to put
Yeah,
8-foot
that's like
doors in their
Gronk.
house
Yeah,
because
it's like
like he just,
Gronkowski.
you
Yeah,
know, like that's,
it's literally like Taylor Swift's boyfriend size
I feel
person.
like I measure guys' height off of Jared Padalecki. Like I know his height. So it's like, where are you on that scale? Like, I mean,
That's
how weird is that? Like
hilarious.
how, like, are you taller?
No,
Are you
that's fine.
shorter
Whatever
than him?
works.
Like,
Whatever
that's
works.
my
Well, I've always
visual
been like
scale.
I've always thought I was a tall woman because I'm like 5'7", almost 5'8".
Yeah,
But
you
that's
are
not that
tall.
tall.
Oh, it is.
But that's not like 6 foot is tall for a woman. I mean, I'm still like inches shorter
I'm
than
five
like,
three. Okay, I'm
yeah,
five
I know I'm
three.
tall. Much taller than
Like,
no, when I'm around other women, I'm like, I'm so tall. And then now I'm around my husband and I'm like, oh, I'm little.
I've been seeing like this trend going around where like women are taking like a tape measure and putting it on the wall and putting their phone at the height of their husband's eyesight and then filming
Mhm.
themselves to see how they
Favorite
actually
angle.
look. And I'm like,
Yeah.
do I look like that to my husband? Because he's like 6 foot and I'm like 5'3".
Well,
And
think about
it's
perspective too, because like you only ever perceive yourself at your own height,
yeah, it's
like in a mirror or like,
yeah,
in a
it's
phone
odd.
or whatever. But you're right. I don't know. Red probably just, I mean, I have great hair. So, I mean, you can see that on my shirt really well when you're tall.
Oh my gosh. I feel like
Oh, that's probably why I've always had tall boyfriends.
I think I saw
I've
one of your
literally
TikTok
always,
videos the other day, and I'm thinking Red must have filmed that because like the eye
oh, me.
height is like, what
Yeah.
is happening? I'm like, is that how the room looks to him? Like that's what I would
Yeah.
thought when I saw your video. I'm
Yeah.
like, rooms don't look like that to me. Like, it's so weird. Like I had a friend once who was like, he was over 6 feet. I can't remember how tall he was,
Yeah.
but we were
Yeah.
standing, we worked together and retail and we're standing in the back room, like having this meeting, and he looked over at me and he just looked at me and I'm like, what? And then he slowly starts sinking down to where he's my height and he goes, is this how it looks for you? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, he's like, it's
No,
weird
I know.
down
I can
here.
imagine short people. Short people like don't get me wrong, when we built this house, like we have 12-foot ceilings in our house. Like we
Yeah.
have like our shower is at like 9 feet. Like the shower head is at 9 feet. Or
Wow.
or 8.5 feet or something like that. We had it pushed up
Yeah, because he's so
because
tall.
every shower he's ever been in, he's been like,
Yeah, I've seen videos on TikTok of like super tall guys and like the shower head is like right here. I'm
yeah,
like,
he's not that tall. I mean, he's not that's like really tall, or that's like a really small shower.
yeah, that's like normal
Um,
height, like shower. It would be like really short.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah, he's never been able to like get his head like underneath the shower until the
Oh,
one we've lived in here. He's
tall
been like a
people
crouch on the
problems.
floor kind of showerer.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Because like you might as you can't even get the back of your head can't even get wet unless you're like crouched, you know?
Yeah,
And I'm
it's
like, that's
height
that's fair.
difference.
It's
It's
like
crazy.
highest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, it's so interesting because um I've always dated, and maybe I'm a heightist. I don't know, cancel me. I don't care. I've always dated tall guys, but maybe that's just because
No, I get it.
I'm a tall woman. I don't, an average height of men is like 6 foot, maybe. I don't even know. Is that not even true? Am I the average height of men?
I'm gonna
Like
Google.
5'7" to 5'9", I think is like pretty average. And then 5'4" to 5'7" is like, it's like, it's like this. Like the average is on the low scale for women, and then like
Well,
right after it is the high.
like according to the Google, the
Uh-huh.
average height of men varies around the world. In the US, the average male is about 5'9".
Okay, yeah. So I'm only
5'9",
2
really?
inches shorter than the average man. Like, so I've just always dated tall men, but I've had like maybe one or two boyfriends that were like eye level with me, and it was
Yeah.
weird. I didn't like it. I
Well,
didn't like
apparently
it.
the average height of women in America is 5'4" or just under 5'4". So I'm normal. Like
Yeah, I'm
I'm
tall.
of
I'm
average
tall.
height. Although
It's
I'm
weird though. I'm
probably
taller than both my parents too. Like, I think my
yeah.
mom's only like 5'6", and my dad's definitely 5'7". Like, I am the same height as my dad.
I'm taller than my mom. My nephew is almost taller than me now, which is below in my mind because like
Some
me and my
boys do that though.
sister,
Some boys just
yeah,
shoot right up, you
me
know?
and my sister I think are the same height. Maybe they're maybe like
Yeah.
half an inch difference, but
Hmm.
it's now become a thing. So like he'll come over and he'll like stand right in front of me. I'm like, don't stretch out. Take off those boots. Like like barefoot. If we're measuring this, we're barefoot. Like because
That's
he's that tall
hilarious.
now. And I think
Yeah.
Annabelle, my niece, I think she's gonna be just as tall because she's almost my height now and
Yeah.
she's younger
And
than
she hasn't
him.
even had her growth spurt yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
She might be as tall as me. I mean, I know Red's dad is 6'2" or 3".
It's
So
still
like
very
being
tall.
6 foot was average for a dad that's 6 foot. Having a son who's
Yeah.
6 foot is pretty normal. His older brother is 6 foot, and then I think his oldest brother is like a little bit taller than me. He's probably like 5'9". But Red hit, he's just got one of those like little recessive genes that just like I thought for a long time he had that bone thing where like your bones don't stop growing.
Oh,
Have you heard of this?
no, I have
There's
not.
like I don't want to call it a disorder because it's not. It's more of just like a thing where it's almost like the opposite of dwarfism or whatever, where your bones stop
Just,
growing.
yeah, just keep
Like their
going.
bones just don't stop growing. So they just keep growing. But
Wow.
he had two growth spurts. I mean, he turned 6 foot in middle school. And then in high school, he grew
Wow.
another 7 inches. So
Wow.
it was just, he just had two. He just had two. Like most boys don't get two.
Yeah, I think I
So,
stopped getting taller in high school because
mhm.
yeah, I think like freshman year in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't, I don't remember. I don't
I
know. I
think
feel like
it
I
maybe
got
it was
taller, but maybe I didn't.
yeah, I think it was freshman year because I think there was like the only reason I remember that is because we did some sort of thing in like our home ec class that
Okay,
involved
yeah, that
like
makes sense.
measuring our heights and that it's
Right,
just
right.
stuck with me. But I had a friend that I grew up with and we
Hmm.
just stopped talking like in middle school, but like she
Right.
stopped growing in like fifth grade. Like she didn't get any
Oh, no
taller.
way.
So and
Oh,
she was,
no.
I mean,
She only
tiny.
like 5'2" or something, or
Yeah,
like,
if
yeah.
that.
Most
Yeah.
girls are though. I have a friend here who she does cakes and stuff for me, and she's like maybe 5'1". She's so petite and cute and like such a cute little baby. I love her so much. She's like so adorable. And I'm like, you always look so cute in clothes. But see, I was always an athlete too. So I even got my period late. So I think that has like a big
Um,
part of it is that like
yeah.
I didn't like my maturity was later. So like I just
Oh,
kept growing until like I think girls stop growing when they get their period. No, or is that not
whoa. I don't
like
think
when their
so.
bodies think that they're ready to have a baby? Well, I don't know. I mean, I could be just making shit up, but in my brain, a lot of the girls that I knew, like that was about the time, like we all got it like that eighth grade, ninth grade year. And I'm over here like, I haven't gotten mine yet. That's kind of fucking weird, you
Oh.
know?
All right, so I just
So I don't
Googled.
know.
It says girls usually stop growing and reach adult height by 14 or 15.
So
Or
yeah.
it says,
Well, now I guess getting your
comma,
period is
or
like
a
way
couple
younger, but
years after menstruation begins. So maybe there is a correlation. So I'm gonna look up
because that to
males.
me, because I think, yeah, I think most girls, well, at least back when I was,
What happened? You froze. You froze. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me, but you froze. You froze.
your body's muscular, you're not releasing enough estrogen. Like it's just,
You froze. You
oh
froze.
shit, no.
You were like, I'm like, you froze. I'm like, I was about to text you and then you came back. Like, I don't know what
Okay, hold on.
happened.
Am I good? Am I good? Are we better? Okay. So I don't know. Being an athlete, like your body just gets kind of like stunted for puberty in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like, I mean, I remember the moment I quit swimming, I got like double D's overnight. It was like the craziest thing
Really?
that has ever happened to me. No joke. I have the biggest stretch marks to prove it. Promise.
My mom likes to joke that I went away to summer camp and came back with boobs. Like, and then they just didn't stop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what
No,
age
mine were
that
like
was, but they
overnight.
didn't stop. They're
Yeah.
like,
Well, because see, I swam right up to like when I was like 15 or 16. And I think that's why I got my period so late because it was as soon as I quit swimming competitively. I mean, I was like going to I was like a junior Olympic swimmer.
what?
Yeah,
Wow, that's impressive.
I swam like twice a day. Like I would swim before school and after school.
Where did
I
you do
would
this
like
swimming? Did you have a pool or did you go to a pool?
I had a pool in my backyard and we had I went to a community center with a group of people and like we swam as like practice every day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like went to
Oh,
JOs twice. Like I was state butterfly champ in Florida for like 2 years straight. You know,
wow.
I was like
Well,
one of
good
the best
shit.
swimmers. Well, I mean, I'm sure the girls I swam against were probably like she was shit, but I thought I was the best swimmer because I didn't go to college and I stopped. I stopped. I didn't keep going. I didn't. I was very lazy at that time. Like that is something I did not want to keep putting time and effort into because 16 hit and I was like boys and
Boys.
like and I was like, wait a second. If I stop swimming, I'll gain weight. Well, because that's the thing is like I went from looking like a boy to looking like a woman overnight. So it was like
Wow.
I had like muscles and I mean I still have big thighs, but like I had like muscly thighs and like big traps. I had like those muscles that are right here that are
Oh,
just like
yeah.
I was like I was like really big. I did butterflies. So like I was
Yeah.
just like I went from looking like a man and like being one of the guys to becoming like a big tit hottie. Like so high school was rough for me. And so, I mean, rough, but great at the same time, you know, because when you're a girl, you're like, oh, well, and you're a Leo and you're like, what everyone all of a sudden is paying attention to me. Um, that was cool. That was really awesome.
Oh
But then also got me
gosh.
in a lot of trouble in high school. So like a
Yeah.
lot of people thought I was pretty boy crazy, which I was, but
I was
you
gonna
know,
say, were you?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
In a weird way, because like my love language at the time back then was physical touch. It was like treat me like you want me. I want you to touch me like you want me. You know,
Yeah.
that was my like endorphin at the time. And I definitely use that to my advantage, especially because like I know guys like physical touch too. So I'm like a handsy, grabby girl who's also attractive. Like guys were like, you're the best. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah, but my self-worth is now tied to like my sex language. So that's probably not healthy for my adulthood, but who cares?
Oh my gosh.
But it's so weird too because I like ended up marrying someone that could like all he wants to do is like play video games and hang out with me like we're besties, you know, it's not even
Oh,
like Yeah, it's just so, I mean, maybe you get the love you need, not the love you want to sometimes,
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Like,
Because what you want might not be what you need.
yeah.
But I'm also obsessed with Princess and the Frog, so maybe that's also just like,
I
have you seen that?
have not. I need to see
Oh
it.
my God, there's a whole song about like you get the love that you need, not the love that you think you want. It's like a
Uh,
whole song.
I'm
It's
gonna
like
have
the
to
whole
look it up.
preface of it. Like, because like the way that they did it in the movie, based off of like the fairy tale, right? Like the kissing
Yeah.
of the princess kisses the frog or whatever. So the preface is that like she kisses this frog, but she's not a princess, so she also turns into a frog. And so
Oh,
they have to like survive being frogs together. And she like hates him. She's like, you're like a pompous asshole prince who like, knows nothing and like doesn't know how to cook for himself. So they like survive together through the bayous of Louisiana, and they end up like they end up falling in love because of all the things they go through versus like just falling in love for no reason.
yeah.
And they get married as frogs, and so she becomes a
Oh.
princess. And then they
Oh.
turn back into humans. And it's so cute. It's like the, I mean, spoilers for Princess and the Frog, but not that, I mean,
Just
not
throw
that's
the
our view. I
spoiler
mean, you're
alert at the
lucky.
end. It's okay. Like,
Sorry, viewers, if you haven't seen the movie.
oh my gosh, that's
Spoilers.
great.
But yeah, that's like I would say like one of my favorite love stories of all time, pretty much.
I'm gonna have to watch it because I haven't seen it yet. I don't know why I haven't seen it yet. Because it
It's
looks
so
good.
good.
I know
It's one
exactly
of
what
the
movie you're
last
talking about, but
movies. Yeah, I think it's one of the last movies that they did like the real like stop animation painted stuff
oh,
before they went like fully digital with like Brave and Tangled and all those are all digital.
oh,
I think
Brave.
Princess
Oh,
and the Frog
that's a
was the
good
last
movie.
painted Disney movie.
See, now I want to watch Brave too. I'm gonna have like a
Oh
Disney
my God,
day.
Brave makes
I'm
me
gonna sit
cry
here and
every
like
time.
work and like just play Disney. Yeah.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing is that like Brave's so great because it like has nothing to do with love. It
Yeah.
like as a mother, it's like a healing of an inner child kind of movie where like she thought she hated her mom and then she kind of becomes a mom or has responsibilities as a mom and then she realizes like it always makes me cry. Such a coming of woman story for real. So good. So sweet. You don't even need see, but that's like I don't know. I guess like do you feel like you've changed like you're like now being like married and having like a lifelong partner, do you feel like what mattered to you or what you thought mattered to you in a relationship has changed, or is it pretty much the same?
Mm, I mean, I don't know because I feel like my husband was like my first real like relationship. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's like little things before
because you
him,
guys were
but
together forever.
oh yeah, like we started dating in 2000, we met in 2008 and like started dating, like we met in like the fall of
Yeah,
2008 and started dating like maybe like the spring or summer the year after that.
yeah.
So I
Because
mean,
you guys
like,
are like what you're like teenagers.
well, I was 23 when we got together.
That's so weird. So was I.
What?
I was also 23 when I met my husband.
That's crazy.
Well,
23
he
is
was
my
19 at
number.
the
I
time, but
mean,
he
23
was
is my
19.
number. It's also
It
his
is your number, yeah.
birthday, so he says I stole his number, but which
Wow,
is,
that's weird.
I know,
That's a
I
weird
know,
coincidence. I
I
don't like
know,
that coincidence. You
I
know how I feel about coincidences. Yeah, that's also weird. I also met, but see, that's weird. You didn't have like a high school sweetheart or like a college sweetheart then? You never had someone you thought you
No,
were
I
like
mean,
in
I
love
went
with?
to design college, so like there was like
Oh,
one straight guy there.
nerd,
It's like
nerd.
I was in the interior design department. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
so it was
yeah,
like
yeah,
fashion. I don't think there was any there. And then
yeah.
like the graphics department, like we never saw them. That I saw like
Great,
one guy on a regular basis and the rest of them, they were just like huddled who knows where. It was a tiny
great,
little like
great.
private campus, but so there was none there. And then high
Hmm.
school, I did not have the same high school experience as you. Okay. I did not. Did not. Okay.
See, I had the atypical, yeah, I had like the atypical like high school love and then like that breakup to like complete slut. Then like college love that mentally and like almost physically abused me to finding
Oh,
my
really
husband. So I
fun.
had like a very atypical like story, if you want to say.
Yeah.
Like, I had the guy when I turned 16 and I thought I was in love with him and he was in love with me and we had names of our kids picked out and he lived
Oh,
down the
wow.
street from me and he was the love of my life. But you're fucking kids and you think you know everything. And
Yeah.
in a weird way, he does like represent a lot about like I see a lot of why I loved him because he like reminded me a lot of myself and we were very, very similar. And we were on the same page about everything. We were like yin and yang about so much stuff. I mean, he ended up like cheating on me for like a year into our like 3-year relationship or whatever. But and I ended up becoming friends with that girl. So that's like a totally different side story. That's like a
A whole
whole nother side
different
story.
kind of
But
thing.
then
Yeah.
when we broke up in my sophomore year of high school, I was also like best friends with like the hottest guy at school. So
We were in
that
two
also kind
different
of opened
groups
some
in high
doors.
school. Like we were in two
But
different
you know,
groups. No, like if the hottest guy in school talked to me in high school, I'd be like, is there a hidden camera? Like, am I about to get pranked? Like, two different
no, I
experiences.
just got really lucky. I just got really lucky. I got really lucky because like my best friend from the neighborhood happened to just be a very attractive man.
Yeah.
Um, who everyone also agreed was an attractive man. And at the time he was a fucking boy. So he was like, you know, and he was which is also kind of weird and like the pieces, you know, sometimes you look back in your life and you're like, oh, you're a weird amalgamation of these two people that I thought maybe eventually I'd be with, but now I'm with you and I never even knew you. And I thought it feels like I've known you my entire fucking life because you're like healing the broken pieces in my body. Because he like, that guy was like, I could never be with that guy because he was my friend and all of my friends dated him. You know what I mean? Like he was my real friend. Like he was like my
Yeah.
ride or die. Like 3 of my best friends have slept with this man.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah. And then after that, after high school, I actually was working with a guy at one of the restaurants that I used to work with, and I fell in love with this guy after we had not worked, we weren't working together anymore. And we were like, I was dating this like drug dealer asshole guy. And then my life is all over the place. My life could be one of your books, to be completely frank. My life could be, or you would read the fuck out of my book. Like if I had a smut book written about my life,
Oh my gosh. Maybe that should
I
be our
shouldn't
next
do that.
project.
I would be an award-winning author. Like I could send this podcast to like 6 guys right now and they'd be like, yeah, I'll take royalties for that shit. Like, no
Oh my
joke.
God.
No joke. You would be like, not putting it down. Not putting it down. No way. No way is that happening to her.
Oh my God.
Because college, I lost who I was to the guy I was dating in college. Like I wasn't this. This was not me. I
Yeah.
was dating someone that was like, you're too loud. You're too obnoxious. Be quiet. That's kind of what we talked about with your sister. Like
Yeah, we talked
that
about
was my
that. Yeah.
abusive, that was my like mentally abusive ex
Yeah.
that I changed everything about myself to have him love me. And
Yeah.
then after I broke up with him because he eventually cheated on me too,
Hmm.
with his friend's girlfriend or whatever. And then now they're married and
Oh.
have like kids and stuff. So like I'm happy for them and like go live your life. I think the
Yeah.
last thing I ever said to both of them was like, I have no right, you know, to tell you that you can't be happy in your life, but I have every right to tell you like I never want to talk or see either of you ever again, you know?
Yeah.
So oh, phone, shut up. So that kind of pivoted to being like, once again, like jaded, angry. I'm gonna be single for the rest of my life. I'm gonna fuck a bunch of guys I don't even fucking know their names. Like I went deep end because I like moved out of
Yeah.
his place. Like we were living together in college, and then I was like living with a best friend of mine at the time who was like my soul sister, who like helped me heal through that and like finding who I was again. And then it was like a year later, I was talking to this other guy that made me feel like I was like loved for who I was instead of who I was like pretending to be.
Yeah.
But he was also super broken and that was like never going to work out because he just wasn't the person I was going to marry. And there's like nothing wrong with that. Sometimes relationships are to heal you, not to be your end all be all, you know?
Yeah. I get that.
And
Yeah.
then, yeah, and that's when I got drunk at an Applebee's and met my husband. So,
Oh my God.
sometimes,
Just casually,
sometimes
just like, oh,
it's
that's
on
us,
it,
and my husband. Like,
but it's the love story you needed.
oh my God.
You know, it's a roller coaster. Life is a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And you know what? Some people, you know, if I think for such a long time, I was chasing the idea of feeling validated
Hmm.
by someone else's opinion of me because I'm the kind of person that like doesn't care what people think.
Yeah.
But if you love me, then I'm good. Like, if you love the things I do for you, if you love who I am, then I'm fulfilled, right?
Yeah.
And I was chasing that for so long. Like, I was chasing that for so long. So then when I finally found someone who just like did love me for who I was, and I didn't have to hide parts of myself. You know, I don't have to hide the fact that I watch anime from you. I don't have to hide the fact that I'm a total nerd and I'm going to pretend to wear these clothes and act a certain way and be a certain way and then or change my complete personality to fit your mold, until I
Yeah.
realized I didn't have to do that anymore. That was when love, real like life sustaining love came into my life, so
Yeah. Oh,
like I said, it would be a really great book if I, could articulate a sentence,
that's where a ghostwriter comes in. You tell
Ooh,
your story, someone else writes it. Yeah,
okay.
it's a
You
thing.
get to like interview this person and they like do a good job, I guess. I feel like I would want to like read it, but like not read it because I feel like it would be
Yeah.
like maybe it
No, I
would
mean
be healing. Who knows?
a lot of people do that. They'll have like a like maybe they put out a memoir, but they're not the best at like writing it. They can tell their
Right.
story and then someone else actually like turns that into a readable version of it.
I
Yeah,
see. Yeah, because like, how do you do like conversate? Like, I would want the like conversations and like the interaction. I mean, like, I lived a like when I look back at my life and I'm like, how are you like? This is like your 50th year. This is your 67th lifetime at this point, which must sound so stupid to like a 50-year-old person. But like to me, it feels like I've lived so many different lives with so many other people. Like I've interacted with so many humans that I don't even know. I don't even live in the same state as them anymore. Like think of like lasting impressions on people's like people make a difference in other people's lives. Like,
sure,
you know,
sure.
it's just so interesting. It's just so interesting.
Yeah. Have you heard about
Yeah.
this thing? I can't remember what it's called, but I'm sure I could like Google it and figure it out. But I
Yeah.
see commercials for it. It's this thing where like if basically like you want to write a story of your life, you want to write like a memoir, and they send you a question like every
Ooh.
week, and you write a little something like you can have a photo or whatever. And at the end of maybe it's like at the end of a year, they
Yeah.
package all that for you into a book and send it to you.
Wow.
Yeah. So like
That would be
I've the
amazing.
commercial makes it seem like, it's like for your grandparent or your parent or
No,
somebody
right.
who's like,
Yeah.
before they die, let's get their story type of situation.
I see.
But
I
I mean,
see.
you
I
could do
see.
it like I think it would be
Yeah.
fun to do it, in several different stages of your life. Like that would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, because you could do something like that. That way they send you like a question and then you just have to worry about answering that question.
And then you don't have
And
to worry. Like, because to me, I
and
feel
they
like I would
format
obsess
it.
over something like that.
They turn it
Yeah.
into a
They do it all
story.
for you. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's super cool. Because I feel like I would have to start with a timeline and like really go back and be like, when was that? How long was that? I feel like 7 years of my life and it was like 6 months. Like, but time is irrelevant, right? I mean, your perception of time is like so skewed. And, you know, it's just
Yeah.
interesting because I feel like I'm not envious of the fact that like you fell in love for the first time with someone that really did love you back. Um, but doing that twice before marrying my husband does leave you so broken.
Yeah.
Because I thought that, you think you're in love or you are in love with someone and they just don't love you back,
Yeah.
like really does change like who you are. Me and my best friend Malia always talk about like because she kind of did not have the promiscuous lifestyle that I had. But uh she did also have some trauma from an ex, but she like left that guy, found her husband, and it was like sometimes she's like, I don't know, she doesn't she hasn't been through some of the stuff that I've been through, so it's like hard for her to relate to me sometimes. I'm like when I talk about stuff, and she's like,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna be here for you, like I love you. Like, I'm like, it's okay, like I don't need to. Like we don't have to both be fucking trauma bonded, we don't have to be like totally fucked up to be friends. But yeah, like I don't know. I feel like just after talking to your sister, like I know there's things that I've been through in my life that like would help other people.
Yeah.
Like I've been through some shit that like other people could relate to,
Yeah.
that would most likely make them feel seen and healed in a sense, or you know I don't know. It's just a very interesting concept because love is like an emotion that we can't explain, right?
Oh, definitely.
Right, it's just like it's just there, it just kind of exists, and you sometimes think you have control over it, but you don't.
But you
You
don't.
just don't. You just don't. Especially because,
Mhm.
like, I sometimes, and this is kind of a derail, but it kind of, talking about your sister kind of reminds me of my sister. And, like, I feel bad for people who, like, are only children because, man, the love you share for a sibling, oof,
Oh,
or
yeah.
people who are not close for their, like, people who are not close to their siblings.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I always feel so bad because that love language, whew, that will, like, always be quality time for me, I think.
Yeah. I used to want, like, I remember as a kid, I used to wish that I had been a twin. So, like, you have that
Yes,
built in, like,
that is
bestie,
such a
that
weird concept,
connection.
right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it really, because it is even deeper. Because it's
Yeah.
even deeper than the feel that, yeah. Yeah, that must like it probably does one of the two things, right? It probably either leaves you so fulfilled, like you're complete, but at the same time also make you feel very alone at the same
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because like think if they're not your bestie, but you feel like they're
Oh,
your best.
yeah.
Ugh, oh man.
Yeah.
But you're right. I don't know if the world can handle two of me though.
Yeah. No, I think, well, I mean, I feel like, I don't know, sometimes it seems like me and my sister, like, there's, the same person, but at the same time, we're so vastly different. It's weird.
Yeah. I think it's like when you're together, you kind of make a complete person,
Yeah.
where like you have this, because that's sometimes how I feel about my husband a lot of the time. Because like I think cohabitating with another human being, it's like inevitable that you're gonna like pick up things that they do, and if
Hmm.
you're just gonna assimilate them, is that the right word? Assimilate
Maybe.
them into your own personality, like it
Oh,
becomes
assimilate.
a
Yeah.
um
Words.
because they like do because they right because you're like around
Yeah.
them so often, and like you just kind of become one person in a weird way. And maybe other people don't feel that way towards it, but I know at least for me that's how it's always felt, is that like when I'm with my sister, like there is a weird feeling of completeness, or like the version of us that is with each other now is a thing.
Yeah.
But like without each other around, I'm sure we're both individually, like perfectly fine
But when you
people.
come
But
together, it's a whole different thing. Yeah. Totally get that.
oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally. But man, what a crazy episode.
Yeah.
We always get so derailed.
And I'm here for it. I think it's fun. You never know
Yeah,
what
it
we're
is so
gonna
fun.
like talk about, you
I
know.
was trying to keep it like within the same like realm of existence of
It's
love,
hard.
but
It's hard.
Valentine's Day can feel weird, especially if you're not with someone you love or you've lost someone you loved.
Hmm.
I know that can be hard. So, we're gonna be here for you guys,
Yep.
if you need someone to this chit chat with you today. Um, but happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So weird kind of doing things in the
It
future.
is. It's like a weird like time warp thing. Oh,
Or time
there's a transition for the video I can use that looks like a portal.
a heart of fun. That will be fun. But yeah, guys, listen, we're gonna go once a month. We're gonna do long form videos. We don't cut stuff, so you're just gonna
Yeah.
get it
Just gonna
how it
get it.
is.
Yeah.
And you'll get the shorts weekly,
Hmm.
probably, right? Are you
Hmm.
still doing the
Hmm.
shorts and stuff weekly?
Yep.
Just pumping them out. I mean, we have
Yep.
so many. We have
So
so many
many.
fucking TikToks. Like
The list is
But
huge.
it's good because people like that shit, like people
Yeah.
like it. So
Yeah.
we're gonna keep doing it. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this video. We'll see you next month. We have a lot of stuff coming up this year.
Mhm.
We'll try to keep you as updated as possible. Things might change. I know we had a lot of ambition for this year, but life is a crazy roller coaster and you never know where it's going to
Yeah.
take you. So
Yeah.
we'll see you next month though, okay?
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.